Hey everybody, welcome back to Tottenham Online, and today we are talking about ANGE in, ANGE out, the manager situation, and basically the history of this club, the future, where we're going, what the plan is, and basically here's how the ANGE out, and here's the question really that we're going to have to answer. And this is from We Are Tottenham TV. I love them. Sim especially. Ben's great. He's just been kind of a bit odd lately with the Ange situation, but here's what he had to say, just questioning Ange and the project in general. So we'll play a few clips. We have a couple reacts from Twitter or X, and then we can just kind of talk about it, give you my perspective on it, and why I just think it's so obvious to be Ange in. So we'll start here with Ben's take.
Yeah, look, it's just not good enough, and we need. I just don't feel like Ange is ever going to do anything at Spurs. So I just don't understand what like you see or other people see in this project, or if you.
Ange is never going to do anything at Spurs. Based on what? Based on what? The first 10 games last year when he had us in first place, and then Mickey goes down and Madison goes down, other guys go down, and then he still gets his 5th place, which this year would be good enough for Champions League. A team that was going nowhere, and signed one senior first team player in Solanke. All the other signings over the summer, Bergvall coming in, and just a bunch of kids. So I just don't get how you don't understand where the project's going. It's clear that we're doing something different. We're not just trying to sign a Charleston type player every single year. We're signing young up and coming players like Bergvall that is clearly putting in work. Sarr hasn't been amazing this year, but last year he was incredible. He still shows flashes. It seems like he's been injured for most of the year, but I truly don't understand how you don't see where the project's going. So, and there's a lot of reasons for that.
People are going to accuse Ange of rushing him back again. If there's any sort of thinking in the mind of Ange Postecoglou or the medical staff or anyone that there are slight risks going into the game, don't play them. Just don't play them. Like, there's no need. Like,
there is a need.
No, there's not, because you're going to hurt yourself even more. You're going to hurt yourself way more.
Unless we can get them through it.
Nah. If there are risks, don't do it.
Here's the same, and I'm going to pick on them a bit just because they're the biggest Tottenham channel, but this is the same guy saying that Ange needs to go because he's not getting results, and then on the other side saying that we just don't. What? We don't start injured players. We don't give injured players minutes. He's acting like when Romero and Van de Ven came back, that we just rushed them into it. And, these guys had been out for weeks and months. They'd been training for 2 weeks. Like, this is pretty standard protocol for the Premier League. Like, this is how you get guys back into games. So, first of all, Romero was just a complete different injury. Literally had nothing to do with it. So, clearly the medical staff has some issues. Our rehabilitation seems very slow and sluggish, and just don't really understand timelines of the injuries. Odegaard has been 2 weeks away for the last 6-8 weeks. So clearly there's something there. He has a point on the medical staff, but to put anything on Ange, like he's rushing someone back, it's, most managers are getting info from the medical staff and saying, okay, this guy can start, this guy should play, a half and come out, or should maybe play 20 minutes at the end. You're taking the advice of these doctors. So it's just a lot of the points made by the people on Twitter and on shows like this, they seem so easily debunked and so easily debated, and that's why I really love Sim recently. He's Ange in, more clearly Ben is just so Ange out. And it's just such this illogical, emotional, passionate thing, which obviously I understand. These guys are lifelong fans. They have the biggest channel for Tottenham in the world, but at some point we need to just sit down and be logical about things and understand the situation, understand why things are happening, and not just jump to, oh, this is so clearly the manager's fault. Sorry, cat in the way. But we have a few more clips here. Let's just keep rolling.
If you're not 100% ready, you shouldn't play. That's what I think.
Yeah, and this is kind of the end of the injury thing. Pretty similar thing. I don't think anyone's playing for the most part, Sarr, they admitted that he was 90%, but what else are we gonna do? I just think so many of these arguments are two-sided. You're playing both sides of the coin, where, oh, if a guy's not 100%, he can't play. Well, no guy's 100%. No guy in the league is 100%. So I just don't know what we're debating here. So you're gonna fire a manager for not getting results, but then you're gonna demand that every player he plays has to be 100%. Well, he's not gonna get results. As we're gonna look later at our injured first 11. We have an injured first 11 of starters that cannot play. So what do you want him to do? You're going to yell at him and call for a man's job because he's not getting results, but then you don't want him to play the best players if they're at 90%. We're trying to get guys back and ease them in like every other Premier League club does. It just none of it makes sense to me, man. So we'll see if this is the next one.
How the players view Postecoglou differs depending on who you talk to. Some still swear by their boss, others are less convinced. Certain players have privately complained about the demands of training and the schedule. The club's injury list does not ease some players' concerns that the output needs reducing.
And this is something we've heard time and time again. This is nothing new. Is this a symptom of the kind of players that we bring in? Obviously, there's still some remnants from, the Conte era, who said the same thing. His training's too tough. It's causing injuries, this and that. It's, if you look at Man City, they are famously in shape. They are famous, they press like no one else. And that's what Ange is asking for. Our press, when it's on, works beautifully. And that is what we need from the players. So if anyone's still complaining about training, then leave. We don't need guys like that. We need players like at Liverpool, at Man City, that can train hard, that can play game after game, that know how to press. And it's just, I hate these leaks, man. And I don't trust mainstream journalists, so this could be just a story from them. I guarantee you half of them make shit up just to get a story in the headlines. But I just don't buy it, man. And you see it too many times. At some point, this is going to be a common theme. At some point, you just have to back the manager, because clearly the board, the ownership, anyone who's running the football side of operations hasn't been doing a job for the last 20 years. So the players, the same thing. We just haven't had players that are good enough as a collective. Obviously, we've had Son and Kane, and there's a lot of players that you can point to that have done a job for the club. But overall, I think there's two common denominators that we need to start looking at. Are we going to fire a manager every 18 months? I don't get how short-sighted this fan base is. So let's just jump.
But it's not just the injuries, is it? It's not just the injuries that's putting us in a situation like this. It's players that are very tired playing on the pitch right now, and and there are options to change it and alleviate minutes from these players, and that's purely down to Ange.
What options? How is that down to Ange? So let me get this straight. What he's saying is, it's down to Ange that we've signed what's eventually going to be a backup keeper, starting for now because Vicario's out, but he's back in the next week or two, it's looking like. So Ange is at fault for no summer signings. For the first team, you had Solanke come in, but everyone else, is a squad player or is out on loan or whatever. So he's at fault for that. He's at fault for, we're on January 29th, and we just have a backup keeper. He's at fault for that. And he's at fault for having 8 senior first-team players available. He's at fault for all of that. I mean, to be just so objectively wrong and so confident about it is nuts. These things are just so clear and obvious. Like, if you just take a second to listen about what you're saying, I mean, I just don't get how anyone cannot see that. I know these guys are Levy out. I know these guys want Levy gone. They're very passionate about that. But then you're going to turn on another manager saying, oh, it's his fault for not giving guys rest. We're having to play injured players. And, sure, granted, there are small mistakes, like Jed Spence should have been registered for the Europa League. That would have saved Paro and Udogie at certain points. But that's one guy. Kulishevsky, who's taking over for Kulu? Please tell me. So, you want Kulu to get rest, but you need everyone to be at 100% if they're playing, and then he needs to get results. That's just not possible for this team right now. I'm blown away by how some people see this club. And so speaking of, we'll move over to, you know, the tweets here. Let's just jump right to the injury list. Look at that, man. Look at that. This is our injured. Odebear been out for months. Solanke's out. I think they said 4 to 6 weeks, something like that. Johnson's just constantly been in and out for the last like month or so. He's just nowhere near it. Madison, not really starting, not in favor. Was he injured and we didn't really know about it? That's possible. It did seem kind of weird that he wasn't really getting sufficient playing time. Now he's out for a few weeks. Basuma, same thing. Saar been playing injured. He's not going to be playing tomorrow. Whereas Ellsberg, he's got to recover. But when do you get the time? Spence recently, Adogi on the left. Obviously, Van de Ven and Romero, the center of our defense. I think genuinely, if Van de Ven and Romero stay healthy this season, I think we're easily top 10. I think we're closer to 8th. We just gave up so many stupid, silly goals. And if you just go back and watch the Romero and Van de Ven highlights, you know, a perfect example is that Hoffenheim goal. The guy just basically picks up the ball from midfield, runs to the edge of the box and slaps it in. That does not happen. Romero, you see tweets, Romero's 2-footing that guy 10, 15, 20 yards outside of the box. He's not getting anywhere close. So how you look at this here and say this, it's on Ange, he's not good enough. I mean, look at Guardiola. He's missing basically just one player. He's missing his CDM, his name, Rodri, was slipping my mind, Rodri, and they've collapsed. The so-called greatest manager of all time, winner of a treble, X amount of Premier Leagues, X amount of FA Cups, blah, blah, blah. He loses one player, and their team's tanking. We've lost an entire first team of players. Like, this team genuinely competes. It competes. And this is our injury list. Look at it. How do you not absorb that and understand what's really going on in this club? So, and there's other stuff, and I know this is really like an Ange in. It's basically me just defending the situation, but there's also a lot of, toxic fan base stuff that just really drives me crazy. But we can just go through some of the Twitter stuff here. So, Spurs Express, Tottenham believe that changing another manager would leave the club in a difficult position as they attempt to build something lasting. And the day that Spurs fans are less logical than the board, I thought I would never see. But here it is. This is exactly what you would expect from the fans. Be patient. Build around this guy. Everyone was in love with Ange. You see all the memes. You see all the videos last season. And then now he has an unprecedented injury situation and everyone's just turning on him instantly. It's crazy. So I love to see that. I hope that's a real sentiment from inside the club, because if we are trying to build something, even Ange brought it up. I hope he says, I hope I'm here to reap the benefits of the young guys that we brought in, because there's a ton of up and coming talent. We have another summer window ahead of us. We're in every single competition still, Carabao, FA Cup, and Europa. So just give them time. Poseidon here, if they wanted to back Ange, why won't they? This is what everyone's asking. There's deals to be done. Just put the money out. And you can't say, it's tough. It's so hard in the January window. I mean, Man City are tanking, and they go out and they got business done. And it's not just a lone player. It's not just, some side piece that wasn't working out at Juventus or whatever. They're signing $70 million players. 70 million euro, sorry, American. And this is the same quote here. And then, yeah, here's Alex. Any suggestions for Spurs manager Ange Postecoglou with better recruitment? Again, like I don't know what to say anymore because I think it's just the situation is so obvious that I just feel like I'm beating a dead horse. Like if you're Ange out, why? Who replaces him? And we'll get to that as well. Here we go. I want Pochettino back. There's a saying in the U.S. for American football. The backup quarterback is the most popular player on the team. And what that's saying is because everyone has this fantasy that they get into, the backup quarterback's going to save us. Oh, he would have made that throw. He would have did this or that. And we do this a ton. There's that. And then, here just simping over Pochettino. What? He's the U.S. men's national coach. He's not done anything since leaving. So I just don't get this fantasy about specific players like they would save us. Mikey Moore needs to come in. He would save this club. What's Ange doing? It's like you're not on the training pitch. You don't know what's going on in training. You have to manage. Again, we want people to be 100%, and we don't want their workload to be too much. But then people are demanding, 16, 17, 18-year-old be just thrown in the fire and played every week. Like, you guys are just so... You guys generally, obviously there's some, logical people out there, but just so back and forth. You're contradicting yourself at every turn. It's like you just don't have a stable opinion. You're so emotional and reactionary that you never stop to think about what's actually going on, what people are talking about, what certain things mean. And you're all saying this from, you're in the dark. You're in the closet in the dark. You're not on the training pitch. You're not behind closed doors. You don't know the situation with Ange and the players. You don't know how certain people train, their attitudes, their connection with the club, anything. So we're all just shooting in the dark. So here's Pochettino, a response to that. This guy just simping over Pochettino for no reason. You do realize he got sacked because he was in the exact same situation Ange is in right now. Lloris broke his shoulder, Vicario hurt. We didn't address key positions we needed in the window. We're short everywhere. Winger, Nico Williams is available. We're looking at Wissa. There's plenty of talent. We're not addressing it. The managers aren't the fucking problem. I think that speaks for itself. We're in the same exact situation, and people are acting like, "Oh, I want Pochettino back. You were the one that wanted to get rid of him, and now you want the same thing to happen to Ange." And in 3 years after we sacked 2 more managers, oh, we never should have got rid of Ange. Like, we'll be reminiscing about the first 10 games of the 23-24 season. Cody Mack. The injury crisis will never end under this manager. It's not a coincidence. It's not bad luck. So if you're using injuries to defend the manager and saying, once we get our players back, take it from me, we will never get our players back. So Ange never had an injury crisis like this his entire career. So now it's his fault. It couldn't possibly be the training staff. It couldn't possibly be, all the games we're playing. Because, once one guy goes down, then everyone else is getting less playtime. So the more and more you lose, it's kind of stacking up. It's a snowball rolling downhill. So we just don't have playtime. So when a guy gets worn out, his muscles are just more susceptible to injury. This is on. He's commenting on Madison going out. There's also the fact of a motivation question with these players. Are they motivated to get healthy? Are they motivated to get out there? So I don't know why we're questioning the manager on something like this. He's not the medical staff. He doesn't handle that type of stuff. It's 100% on the club. And here's another guy, Dave Ellis, just fantasizing over someone we've never seen play. We like to think every player will be the savior. Every player will fix this club. This manager would, fix us. They'd take us to the Champions League final. It's just this constant fantasy, and it's crazy, man. And here's just from today, Dejan Kulishevsky talking about you can look at the manager, you can look at the players, but it's bigger than that. He knows it's the board. He knows really what's going on. Take it from a guy, a world-class player in my opinion. Take it from a guy who knows what's going on inside and out. And I think that's enough said, man. I'm Ange In. I don't know what else to say about it. I think it's pretty obvious. I would love to know your feedback in the comments. Tell me why you're Ange in. If you're Ange out, who do we go for? Someone realistic. And what are they going to do? How are they going to fix this club? Because you can't just say, oh, I like David Moyes or oh, Ancelotti will come here. That's not realistic. Give me a realistic take. Something that could really, truly turn this club around. I think it's Ange. Once the players get back, once he has a legitimate window, we'll see. But like and subscribe. More videos coming. Ellsberg tomorrow. See you guys later.